Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who are in the UK time zone or nearby time zones, and for those who are joining for somewhere else, wonderful time of the day. Welcome to this weekly webinar, Mindly Answers Wellbeing. Weekly webinar, and in here we try to answer questions that are submitted anonymously. It's all about finding a safe space where you can share what you want to talk about. Effectively, this is done by someone who is not a psychologist to start with. I understand psychology. I have got educated in psychology, but I started as a simple engineer and then worked with in the finance industry, automotive industry, and so forth, and have worked with all sorts of team sizes. Why I mention that is because instead of listening to a psychologist telling you how to run your life or run your business and so forth, effectively, I would say it's a day-to-day person telling and sharing what I went through. And I wish I had some questions and answers like this before, instead of looking at hundreds of hours of YouTube videos or different kind of books and so forth. So feel free to ask. Okay. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. It does something to the algorithm so that you get more relevant content. And also someone else might get answers from this one as well. Okay. Awesome. Let's get started. What I've done is I've created a couple of slides for today, but I've also kept the slides from last week so that you can connect it to last week. We are not going to explain too much of what we talked about last week, because you can always get it in recording in the YouTube channel. But yeah, you can see those slides as well. Okay. Well, this is something that is taken. Okay, the person's name is hidden over here, the original author who has shared this, but it will be, I will just put it in the comments later. This is not from me. This is from one of the well-known psychologists in the world and authors in the world. We create plans and they go all wrong. And we create steps. Unless you are a machine, things really don't stick to every step of the way. Even if you do things which are extremely well organized, there are situations where things will go outside of plan. And that's not even the most important part. The most important part is that it's okay. It's okay that plans change. We have been taught since we were children, I mean, in schools, in societies, in various other situations, everything has to stick to rules, which is a good thing. It was created so that everything goes synchronistic in a good way. You have traffic rules for a reason, for safety, for organizing things, activities, so that we don't go into mayhem. I get it. But when things go wrong, the most important part is to come back to plan. It's like driving. You took one left turn, which was not supposed to be taken. The best thing you can do is come back to the plan, to the route that you wanted to take, according to your GPS or according to your own plan. It's not about giving up. It's not about getting stressed. And we all get stressed, which is again going outside of plan. But that's okay. The moment you say that, remember our purpose, control, and service framework, your brain gets a sense of having control, having a sense of control of the situation. When we speak of control, we are not talking about controlling the outside world or controlling someone else. Can you do something about this situation? That's all that matters. If you can do something about that situation, you go towards your own version of normalcy. You get clarity. Of course, there are some chemical changes happening in your brain, but I'm talking from a common point of view, from a simple point of view. I really don't want to go into deeper jargon. But the moment you can do something about a situation, you feel better. and it really helps. Okay, so next time something goes outside of plan and you feel panicking, you feel disturbed or something, the simplest thing you can keep telling yourself is, okay, can I come back to normalcy? Okay. Now, there was a follow-up question here as well. Many times when we say it's okay, is it an excuse? Is it something that we are just telling ourselves? Remember, we had this call a few weeks ago about reframing and what's the best way to reframe? And is it an excuse? It's not an excuse. Okay. It's something that okay, how do you distinguish between being an excuse and not being an excuse? Is that you feel good and you feel in charge after you feel that it's okay. The reason being, you get clarity to convert what you have into some version of action. If it was an excuse, then you haven't grown out of it. And this is one important part of feeling good after you have said it's okay. All right. Now, most importantly, feeling good again is not an excuse. If you have done something with it, then you have grown out of it, you have learned something out of it. Sorry, I got distracted by another question that has popped up in the chat, and effectively we did answer that. Um, it's it's not making small out of what we are talking here, that okay, this is a small thing, it's okay, I'll move on. Now, the one situation where it's not okay is when you are doing something which is harming someone else or yourself for the situation. Please be careful. It's okay does not mean that we are going to say, okay, it's okay if somebody got hurt. Have a think about that. It's not okay if somebody got hurt. It's not okay if you got hurt. It's not okay if your safety is being affected. So that is that line you have to draw. The reason you are saying it's okay, so that you have the mental clarity to do something about that situation. Please make a note of that. Okay. So it's not always okay beyond a point. Do something about that plan. Okay. So I try to create this general anxiety. In fact, there is a scientific name for it. It's called anxiety distraction cycle. And this was a question from someone. The reason I'm pausing is I'm trying to answer the question without revealing who asked it. So I really don't want, if sometimes when I read the question, there is some information over here, just want to make it a very generic answer, but you know who has asked the question and you're getting the answer. What happens is we normally don't start with anxiety or panic or anger or frustration. We just start with some version of disturbance. Okay. And just to feel better, what we do is we do something that takes us away from the disturbance, and that comes where we avoid the situation, we distract ourselves. You could watch something on YouTube or Netflix, or to call a friend. You could be thinking you're doing something constructive, like go for a run. I get it, but beyond a point, it could be your coping mechanism. Maybe you're doing it because you want to avoid something else. Um, a simple example, many of us, we start tidying up the garage or the kitchen when we are not feeling great, and after some time we feel good. You will be surprised to find that there are people who have mild anxiety and they really feel good after driving, because driving gives them a sense of control, and they're some of the best drivers because they're so careful that they don't do any mistakes, and they're taking care, and they're also taking care not to be over cautious, so that rest of the road is also safe. Isn't it a kind of a paradox? The person is anxious and he is driving, and common sense would say, hey, that's not what you should be doing. But the person is feeling better because we get a short-term relief from the sense of control that comes. However, we haven't processed it. We haven't seen the root cause of it. And because of that, what happens is this becomes a long-term anxiety. The issue becomes bigger and bigger, and it goes round and round in a circle until we cannot manage it, and it goes towards panic and frustration and so forth. So 75% of issues, and this is agreed by all sorts of people, both in corporate, in charities, in personal life, by doctors and so forth, 75% of issues can be resolved using preventative methods. Meaning at the time where you started being disturbed, started not feeling okay, started not feeling good, started avoiding the situation, what if you could do something at that point so that it does not loop into something worse? Okay, let's think about that for some time, and this is how you will see that situations will improve. We have seen in some of the previous weeks how to come to the green zone. Have a look in the previous week's videos. From the blue zone, take rest. From the yellow zone, slow down. From the red zone, stop. And also in the emotions matrix, the left side, although we call them the negative emotions, they're actually protective. They're helping us. Okay, so have a look at it. What could you do as a small step which will stop this cycle, which will break it? Once it breaks it, you can switch to getting engaged. I mean, if you're physically tired, please eat something, have a sip of water, take some rest. If you're mentally tired, do something else that refreshes your mind. Use body, mind, and intellect to do that. And slowly you're out of this vicious cycle. Okay, so this is the cycle that you have to get out of. Watching Netflix for 8 hours, check, is it a coping mechanism? Doing something constructive, you think cleaning up the kitchen is helping? You think going for a run is helping? Yes, it does help to some extent, but are you doing to avoid something else? Think about it. If you're doing it as a coping mechanism, you're already in the cycle, and a small thing could take you out of it. That small thing is something that you know. Just come out of it, okay? And feel better. 4 in 5 small business owners tell us they're experiencing poor mental health. And believe me, sometimes it's more, depending on male-female ratios. I can vouch that a number of people also lie on these surveys as well. But there was another statistics. Let me see if I have it over here. Yeah, we have some statistics here, but the one I was referring to is 1 in 2, like every other person has mild depression or mild anxiety, and every third, is it 20, 22 and 25%, if I remember from memory. You can pause this video and look at this slide, but I'll come to that in 2 seconds. 22 and 25% have clinically relevant symptoms of anxiety and depression, which means 1 in 4, okay, nearly 1 in 4. So we all are going through it. So let's do something to come out of that cycle. This slide comes in answer to some of the questions about, can you share some good statistics? I'm a bit surprised because this is very easy to find these days. So I've actually found one from the Access group where they have really summarized this in a nice way. 90% of HR managers agree mental well-being of employees has become a priority. 90% of people who are feeling unwell, they don't say that's because of feeling anxious or feeling down. I mean, think about it. Have you used that? Have you tried that? People say, my tummy is not feeling well, I am having a headache, or my family member is not well, or something of that kind, but they don't say, I'm feeling anxious. Okay. 45 billion could be the UK cost of the time lost, of the people, of the opportunities lost. But Deloitte mentions that for every pound spent, you can get back 5 back if you take care of well-being, mental well-being, in form of absenteeism, presenteeism, staff turnover, and so forth. 75% of organizations said early interventions really work. Okay, so think about it. How is it helping you? Again, pause this video, take a screenshot, go to the link that is mentioned, use it in your presentation if you feel like. But these are the statistics that I feel relevant. I really don't want to go through all of it. But yeah, on the right, it does mention 11% lower turnover for employers who have prioritized well-being. So these are the slides I mentioned, the emotions wheel, the impact of absenteeism and presentism. We did discuss this last time. To have a quick recap, on the left side is the negative impact of um, not taking care of well-being, suboptimal presence, productivity, absenteeism, cost of rehiring and retraining. I mean, this actually creates business cases. If the cost of rehiring is far, far more than doing courses for your group, for exercises that are customized, or taking a pulse check, or giving your team members these kind of tools that they can use when they're feeling down, um, it's money back 20 times, many a times. Okay. Um, Employee loyalty improves. On the positive side, productivity improves, staff retention and safety, and growth happens. One thing people forget: customers can see it, guys. Customers can feel it. If your employees are fine, customers really feel happy. Think about that for a moment. See how it connects quantitatively to your business, to your life, and to your feelings. These are some of the exercises that we had shared. Make a list of things. How can you catch yourself being your personal critic, personal cheerleader, and self-carer? Why I'm buzzing through is because we talked about this in detail last week and the week before. Okay, so you can refer to those calls. This is the simple model, and this is where we stop for the moment, looking at time. And yeah, keep coming back, keep sending those questions. We change lives by empowering you to change emotions. Feel adequate, regulate emotions, be your own cheerleader. Okay. I really loved some of the questions that were sent. I know, being anonymous, I do get a little bit of spam, but some of the questions are so relevant. Um, Thank you guys for doing that. And we are here all together. And let's feel better together. Take care.